So today we will be start with the fact number 1, which is highest level of copper and lead contamination. The ideas that we got from the facts is what causing the level of copper and lead increase. Copper, which is released into the environment by both natural sources and human activities. Example of natural sources are wind-blown dust, decaying vegetation, forest fires, and sea spray. The second idea is how to prevent the contamination made by copper and lead. Ion exchange is another common heavy metal treatment method, which can reduce nickel, mercury, lead, cadmium, chromium, and copper in water. Third idea is what is standard level of copper and lead in water. The action level for lead is 0.0015 milligram per liter, and the action level for copper is 1.3 milligram per liter.
For fact 2 is small crustaceans that feed on common brown seaweeds are killed when they are exposed to copper. The idea in fact 2 is first, what is small crustaceans? Small crustaceans are not a systematic group and thus they only share being crustaceans and being small. It usually less than 25 millimeter in length. The second idea in fact 2 is how does copper affect small crustaceans? At high concentration, copper become toxic, affecting metabolic process of marine organisms. The third idea in fact 2 is how much level of toxicity inside the copper that would kill the small crustaceans. Decrease in pH will release previously bound copper and increase levels in solution, thereby increasing the risk of toxicity. The fourth idea in fact 2 is what is the difference between brown seaweed and green seaweed? Brown algae contain chlorophyll A, chlorophyll C, and fucoxanthin, while green algae contain chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, and xanthophylls.
The fact 3, which is high concentration of copper in Pedinecrasa was associated with a low abundance of grazing amphipods. So the first idea for this fact is what is the function of amphipods? Amphipods are often significant component of other aquatic systems where they contribute to nutrient recycling and provide high quality food for a variety of animals and semi-aquatic mammals. The next idea for fact 3 is what class are amphipods in? Amphipod is an order of malacostracan crustaceans with no carapace and generally with laterally compressed bodies. For the last idea, how Pedinecrasa associated to amphipods. Amphipods eat dead and decaying algae, seaweed, and other plants and animals.
Fact 4, which is seaweed bioaccumulate metals inside their tissue. The first idea of this fact is does seaweed absorb heavy metals? Seaweed can rapidly accumulate elevated concentrations of metals. The second idea of this fact is why is bioaccumulation important? Bioaccumulation in organisms may enhance the persistence of industrial chemicals in the ecosystem since they can be fixed in the tissues of organisms. So the third idea is when does bioaccumulate occur? Bioaccumulate occurs at the base of the food web, usually within primary producers like phytoplankton when toxins build up or accumulate in a food chain. The fourth is seaweed naturally contain metals. It also contains an excessive amount of heavy metals such as arsenic and iodine. The fifth is organic seaweed contain metals. Organic certified seaweeds can contain heavy metals and other contaminants.
Fifth fact is scientists use them, which is seaweed, in monitor environmental to pollution. So the first idea for this fact is what is important of seaweed to scientists. Some seaweed have the capacity to remove heavy metals from the water and can potentially be used in biomonitoring and in bioremediation of such pollution. Next idea for this fact, how does seaweed help environment? It can remove toxin from seawater as it grows. Third, why seaweed is used to monitor the environmental pollution? Is it because they respond quickly both in species composition and densities to a wide range of water conditions due to changes in water chemistry? The last idea for this fact is seaweed affect by pollution. Effect of heavy metals on seaweed is the rapid formation of reactive oxygen species, or known as ROS.
The fact 6 is other animals higher up the food chain may be indirectly suffering the consequence of pollution. The first idea, how does pollution affect the food chain? When a species dies because of exposure to a pollutant, food may become scarce to another species. Second idea is what will happen if animals in top food chain are exposed to pollution. The pollution that human and non-human animals consume accumulates in their tissues, causing damage to their organs that weakens their immune system and makes them more vulnerable to many diseases. The third, what are the consequences suffered by the animal? Aquatic life forms mainly suffer because of water pollution because of loss of enough amount of fresh dissolved oxygen in water bodies. The last idea, how to prevent food chain pollution by proper mining procedures and waste disposal.
For the fact 7, idea 1, the idea is what is maximum level of copper in seaweed? Maximum concentration value is 0.5 milligram per kilogram dry weight recommended by the CHSPF.
The second idea is copper toxic to marine life. At high concentration, copper becomes toxic, affecting metabolic process of marine organisms. These changes in seawater chemistry have the potential to affect the physiological process of marine organisms, including macroalgae.
The third idea, what happens to future crustaceans if the concentration level of copper in seaweed is always exceeded? Population of crustaceans will be decreased due to high level of toxin in water, which lead them to the death. And last, why do we need to protect crustaceans? They are a vital food source for animals, including whales, seals, and penguins. They also help sequester carbon from the atmosphere, which can help to mitigate the effects of climate change. We can conclude in this PBL trigger, the animal in food chain may get affected due to the exceeded level lead and copper in seaweed. Exceeded level of lead and copper in seaweed will harm the animal and the food chain. So, because of the toxin that liberated in the seawater are being absorbed by the producer, such as seaweed. When the producer is eaten by its consumer, such as small crustacean, the toxics will pass onto the next trophic level as it is persistent.